begin right now. Hello, students of middle school. If you are attending right now, you are going to watch the Rising 9th grade class registration for West Seattle High School. So if you are currently a Seattle Public School middle school student, this is the presentation for you. So today's objectives is to review your registration timeline. You should have received your option sheets, what we'll explain a little later in this presentation. You will locate the online registration materials and we will help you start choosing your classes. So before we go into a little further, just so you know, the West Seattle High School counselors are here today. So my name is Miss Wynn, and I'll let the other counselors introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. I'm Miss Nutters.
And I'm Miss Newman.
And so just a reminder in housekeeping, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to pop them in the Q&A, but just note that we will have time after the presentation to answer questions, as well as tomorrow, this time on Friday.
So as Ms. Nguyen just mentioned, we are here to talk about choosing classes for next year, which is a terribly exciting time. We do want to just kind of take a moment's pause to say why we need you to take this seriously as you're choosing your classes and your alternate classes. This is your chance to choose some of your elective classes for next year. If you put in your source and on your paper registration, these are the classes that you want, we are going to do everything in our power to get those classes for you. That might show up as an alternate class. If it's on your paper, if it's in your source and it's an alternate class, that means we will move forward with that class as a class option for you. So we'd love it if you could get all of these things in so that we don't have to choose classes for you and you're taking classes that you want to take. And I'll pass it to Ms. Newman to walk through the next steps.
All right, so this gives you an idea of what to expect as far as the timeline for registration. So over spring break, we got our list of risers and families were notified by email that they'll be assigned to West Seattle next year. You guys got a lot of information in that email regarding processes and website resources. Today, we are meeting with you guys to walk you through all of this, and we're doing this online presentation. This was also the week that, of course, the window officially opened on the source for online registration. So the window is now live, which is why we've highlighted that. And that window will remain open through Friday, May 6th. So that gives you a couple of weeks to be making your decisions, talking to friends, and making some final selections as far as your classes go. So again, we've put quite a bit of information into that initial email that families received, as well as on our registration website. That should be sufficient as far as reading through what your options are and making choices. But we also want to provide some support there, which is why we are having this presentation today. And the Q&A tomorrow, and then you guys have until May 6th to make these decisions.
So I'm sure you're wondering, how do I pick my classes? So this is just a quick visual for all of you to understand how graduation requirements work at the high school. So this is a 24 credit graduation requirements. I'm not going to read all of it. You can screenshot it, revisit the recording after this presentation to review all the requirements. And so just wanted to denote both art as well as world language. They're asterisk because it is eligible to be waived based on your personalized pathway. And so you can talk to your counselor more about that in the fall if that applies to you in your graduation pathway. And families should have also received this visual in your welcome packet that shows, again, the same 24 credit requirements. They're just broken down a bit differently so you understand the difference between the foundational or the core classes, as well as what electives are considered for requirements.
I know it can be kind of a lot to think through graduating as you are leaving 8th grade, but those credits do kind of pile up. So we do have all of these materials on our counseling website, where you can find all of the registration materials, course catalogs, the option sheets, videos about classes if the teachers have given them to us, as well as our lessons on how to walk through all of the pieces of this. So if at any point you get confused and you're not sure where to go, the counseling website is a great place to look. You should already have an option sheet that you were emailed, but you also should have access to all of these classes in your source if you want to kind of like take a look after this presentation.
And just to clarify here, kind of why we use option sheets in addition to having you choose online through the source. The option sheet can be a really helpful visual for you to see all of your classes written out in kind of a freshman year schedule, which Ms. Nguyen's going to walk you guys through that in a minute. But it's nice to have that as a second tool for looking at your classes for next year. And then it's also nice for us to have something on paper to where, you know, if something is happening with your online registration, you can't get it to go through for whatever reason, you're more than welcome to submit a paper option sheet to your middle school counselors, to the high school, so that we can get a paper copy as well. So it's nice to have as a backup in case something is wrong with the online piece.
So I'm sure you're wondering what the option sheet looks like if you haven't seen it through your email. So this is a visual of what it looks like and a sample of it filled out. So you'll put in your information at the top, student name, your grade year, if you know what it is, and then your current school, which is Madison, STEM, Pathfinder, whichever SPS middle school you're at. And then we have little hints for you on the left side of each semester column. So you know your LA class is LA. Your history is history 1, and then your typical science sequence will be listed as well. And so you'll see that the student here has all 4 core classes, so LA, math, history, and science. And then they'll also be taking family health and personal fitness, which we'll touch on later in this presentation. And then for their other elective class, they chose French 1, A, and B. And so you will pick, if you choose to do the option sheet, you will fill out these 2 boxes primarily, so semester 1, semester 2. And then on the far right side, alternates, like Ms. Nutters mentioned earlier, is, let's say, for example, you can't get into your French class. We would like to see 4 backup options from you so that if for any reason your French class conflicts with another class that you chose, we can reference those 4 other classes and select those for you versus picking for you.
So just want to kind of clarify high school terminology for you guys. When counselors talk about core classes, we're talking about English, because you need that all 4 years. Math, you need 3 years of that. Science, 3 years of that. And social studies, where we need 3.5 credits of that. So every year of high school, counselors will be referencing these core classes. And just circling back to what Ms. Nguyen just said, those are those first 4 classes. So you'll always start with these first 4 classes, and I think Ms. Newman is going to walk through just a general sequence of what those classes look like next.
Yeah, so the next couple of slides just go through the typical progression through the core classes as you move through high school. So we're not going to pick apart every single slide here, but to give you just a quick idea, this is what the different English options are available to students at our school as you move through high school. The next slide will show you the math pathways. So everyone takes through Algebra 2, and then after that, you know, once you're a junior or senior, you have some more options there. And then with science, again, everyone in 9th grade takes Chem Phys, 10th grade bio, and then 11th and 12th grade is really where your options start to open up and you have some more classes from which to choose. And same with social studies. Social studies is pretty much determined by grade level. So all 9th graders take World 1, 10th grade take World 2 and 3. And then you'll see in 11th and 12th grade, the classes listed there, and then the options to take AP, which begin in 10th grade.
All right, so now that we're through the core classes, now we're going to look at elective options. So elective is pretty loosely defined, but typically we mean your art, your CTE, your PE, and your health, which we'll go into more in a second. So all freshmen are required to take these elective classes. So they're a semester long. So you'll do family health and personal fitness. This is required as a freshman in high school by the district. And so we'll be sure to have you include that in your schedule so that you are meeting graduation requirements.
Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit here about year-long electives. So thinking through that all freshmen will be in that family health and the personal fitness class, you get to choose, are you going to take one year-long class or 2 semester-long classes? So these are an option of all of our year-long electives in the fine arts area for the most part. And then if we go to the next slide, you'll see the ones that are CTE credits. So in the green sheet, it's concert band, orchestra, jazz band, any world languages, and yearbook and journalism. And then we decided to just extra highlight that your yearbook and journalism do offer you CTE credits.
All right, and then moving on to semester-long CTE, career technical education options. This is a list of some of the classes that we offer. And again, you can find more detailed descriptions of these courses in our course catalog. Some more semester-long options. And then we do want to spend some time highlighting a really good CTE class for freshmen, which is Career Connect. This class counts for CTE credit, and it's super useful as far as meeting graduation requirements. You can also apply it as part of a graduation pathway down the road. But this is a really useful class because through this class, you can get connected to local jobs, internships, depending on your age. You'll also take some career inventories in this class that'll help you figure out what you want to do someday for a career. And hopefully that will help make high school more valuable for you. Also, just how to navigate high school. A really key piece of this class is learning some of the Office 365 products. So how do you use Excel? How do you use Word? These are applications that are used frequently in high school, and probably some of you already have some experience with it in middle school. So that's another really nice skill set that you will develop by taking this class. And again, just to get some more understanding of what's available for after graduation, if you have a post-secondary goal that you're working towards, high school can feel so much more valuable. And so having kind of a pathway there. And then also just basics on kind of budgeting, a better understanding of money and how to manage your money. So a lot of really practical life skills that you will be exposed to in this class that we feel is super valuable. So we wanted to especially highlight Career Connect as an elective option for freshmen.
I'll just jump on to say, if you're not really sure of electives of where to go, Career Connect is a great place, is like just a launching point into high school.
All right, so just highlighting some previous student work. So this is photography. It counts both as a CTE and art credit. And so speaking of art, these are your art elective options. So this is the semester-long music classes. So you can consider choir or guitar. And like I mentioned, it's semester-long. And then you move on to other fine art classes such as ceramics, theater, drawing and painting, and graphic design. I just wanted to show you some more artwork from previous students as well for drawing and painting. And then in graphic design, it's pretty flexible in terms of the project you get to do. This is just an example of students creating their own logos and t-shirts.
So cute. Okay, so here are some sample schedules that if you're trying to figure out what does this look like for me? So if you are like, oh my goodness, those elective semester-long classes sounded delightful, then you might look like you're in our 4 core previously discussed, Lit 9, World History 1. You're like, yes, that Career Connect sounds great for me. Algebra, Chem A, Phys A, PE Health, or these 2 semesters. If you're like, nah, I'm going to be taking a foreign language and in band, you'll see that that replaces the spot of PE and health down here at the bottom. But instead, on the other side of World History 1, because it's only a semester class, you chose to fulfill that health requirement because we need all freshmen to take that. Option 3 is you decided to take a year-long class, Chinese, instead of those 2 semester-long electives. So there's many different ways for the schedule to look. We want you to choose classes based on your interest, but these are just kind of samples of what it might look like for you.
All right, so again, just kind of reviewing the timeline here. So last week, families received materials for registration. This week, you all are watching the online presentation with us, and then the window went live on the source as well to go in and choose your classes. And then you have until May 6th to go in and make your selections.
And so if you still have questions after this presentation, like we mentioned, we'll hang around for a few more minutes to answer any lingering questions you have about classes or how to register. And then if you still have more questions, we will actually be available live again via Teams through live Q&A at 10:50. And you can find that link through your welcome letter on our website or from your middle school counselor. Thank y'all.
We do have a couple questions in the chat. Do you want to just kind of walk through them for everybody?
Sure.
And it does look like teachers are the only ones that have access to the Q&A. So teachers, if your classes have questions, feel free to add them to the Q&A and we can address them as we go. The first one is, if I'm taking advanced classes, does that mean that in my high school credits, I don't have to take as many classes? So I'm assuming that's saying, like, if you're in algebra now, then you need to take geometry and algebra 2, and then you've met those 3 years of math. Are you done then? For graduation credits, yes, but then we're also talking about what we're going to do after high school, which for many of you will be college. And so we also need to start talking about college entry requirements. So if you're in an advanced class and you finish the graduation requirement for algebra or for the 3 years of math, then we will recommend that you continue to take classes in those subject areas because that will prepare you better for college. Once you've met the minimum requirement, so let's say, for example, you are in band, you're going to be in band all 4 years. There's 2 years requirement of fine art. As soon as you meet the requirement of 2 years, it waterfalls into the elective category, and then that becomes the catch-all.
See a question on here about band, orchestra, and piano specifically. So the question is, does band or orchestra have a slot for piano? If you play an instrument and you're interested in joining either band or orchestra, I would direct all questions to Mr. Thomas. He's our band director. And then Mr. Fritz, who's actually at Madison as well, is our orchestra director. But I would, I don't think any of us can answer that question. I would strongly encourage you to get in touch with Mr. Thomas directly if you have a music specific question.
All right, I see a question, which is, what do Team Sports 1 and Team Sports 2 mean? Those are just 2 separate semester classes. So if you've done, for example, Team Sport 1 first semester, then you move on to Team Sports 2 second semester.
If you want, there's a question about if you want to plan on testing out of a world language, you can talk to your counselor now about getting the website for the language competency test. You can't, all of the remaining tests for the year are filled, and I think you need to take them once you're in high school. So if you'll get to the website, you can, in August or in September, you can go to that website and sign up for one of those tests, and then just make a plan to not take a language if you're planning on meeting it through competency.
See a question on here from a Denny family. The source is showing a pre-made schedule. I think to clarify, what the source is showing is there are some pre-selected courses for core courses. So English, for example, science, health and PE, because those are grad required courses and core courses. So you won't have much choice there, but where you do have choice is in your math and in your electives. So if you wanted to take a world language or career connect or an art class, that's where choice comes into play. So you do get to choose some of your classes for freshman year, if that helps to clarify.
All right, I think I know what this question is asking. What's the difference between graduation credits and CTE credits? So in terms of graduation credits, you have your core classes that you need. And then within the core classes, you also have art and CTE as graduation requirements. So you need a year of CTE, so all the auto, the baking, the career connect classes that you need for graduation. And then beyond those subjects that I mentioned are your elective classes. So you need 4.0 or 4 years, or sorry, 4 classes of general elective credits to meet the 24 total credit requirement.
There's a question on where do you submit your choices for your schedule, and that will be in the source. You should have on your source page, like on the left-hand side of the menu, there should be a class registration menu item for you to be able to choose your classes for next year. And then as well, there's a paper registration form that got emailed. Well, not paper, an electronic one that got emailed to you guys.
And just a heads up, we will be posting a how-to video on accessing your source registration page. So that should be coming up after, or posting on our website after this presentation.
See a question about summer classes and do those count towards high school credit? So yes, if you take classes through the Skills Center, the Seattle Skills Center offers a variety of summer programs and summer classes that students can take for high school credit. And those are typically CTE credit, although some are cross-credited across art, science. Sometimes they offer health, so it just depends on their offerings. But yes, you could take Skills Center classes this summer and have those count towards your high school credits.
There's a lot of questions about the PE waiver, so we can kind of walk through what that means. You can waive 2 semesters of PE. There is a requirement that you take a total of 3 semesters of PE. One of those semesters has to be completed on campus. The weird loophole in this district is you can't waive them until your junior year. So let's say you are in a sport your freshman year, a sport your sophomore year. You can make a plan to say, I'm going to waive 2 semesters of PE based on my 9th and 10th grade sports, but you can't submit those waivers until you're actually a junior. At some point in high school, you will need to take 1 semester of PE on campus. So there's a lot of questions about, like, if I'm in a language and band all 4 years, how am I going to fit that 1 semester of PE in? Most of our graduation requirements have, for those core classes, have a 3-year minimum. So by your senior year, there's typically room in your schedule, and even by junior year, there's typically room in a schedule to be able to fit in one of those semester-long classes of PE.
So question on here about world languages and when students typically start those. It really depends on the student. Some freshmen come to us already having taken some Spanish or French or sometimes Chinese even in middle school, which means they sometimes they start at level 2, or sometimes they choose to just start all over again with level 1 as a 9th grader. Some students, a good bit of them, have not had any language when they come to us. And you don't have to take language as a 9th grader. You certainly can if you want to learn another language and are interested in that class, but you have plenty of time during high school to get your world language credits in. So if you're worried that that feels like a lot to commit to a world language as a 9th grader, do not feel like you have to sign up for one. You can push it to 10th grade or even 11th grade if you really needed to, but it really just depends on the student and their area of interest there.
I think I see a registration logistics question. So if you select a year-long elective in your registration online, it'll automatically factor that in so that when you submit it, it'll show that you have selected all 6 classes. So you should be fine if you select that versus a semester-long elective.
But do keep in mind with that elective that World History 1 is only one semester. So if you take PE Health a year long, you do have one semester left of another class to be able to choose from. There was a question about the daily schedule. We do a 6-period day with a 5-minute passing time. In between second and third period, there's an extended passing time. Our schedule might change, though. The district is working on some drafts for possible schedules, but currently we have a 6-period day, and I believe that will continue. The specific times of those periods might change for next year.
So this is a more difficult question to answer, but I'll take a stab at it. It's asking about outside credits that were earned from a student. So depending on the class, you need approval from your counselor prior to taking the class. And part of the approval process is if the class is already offered at West Seattle High School, for example, it's most likely you're not going to be able to take it outside of school. We want you to be a West Seattle High School student taking West Seattle High School classes. So if that's a plan or there's a class outside of West Seattle that you want to consider taking, then talk to your counselor when you come to us in the fall.
There's a question here that the source is automatically making you choose Phys A and Chem A, but you've already completed that class. If you go to our registration website, there's a form for you to complete if you want to get that changed, but we will actually go through and change everyone's science and math. If you're already in a high school level science or math class, we will go through and update it to the next level.
So the presentation video will be posted on our West Seattle High School counseling website. If one of the other counselors can post it into the live Q&A, that'll be very helpful. The link is also included in your welcome letter that was emailed to you last week.
Students aren't, there's a question here about Running Start and what can a 9th grader do to prepare for Running Start. There was another previous question about if I'm taking Running Start classes, does it reduce my credits or change the credit requirement? You can't do anything for Running Start until this time, your sophomore year. The preparation we would say is to do well in your classes. You will have to take a placement test in English and math, so those are 2 good classes to focus on. Actually, the Career Connect class wouldn't hurt you, considering you're going to learn a lot of the skills that actually you'll definitely need when you go on to the college. But so what we would say is the best way is to have a strong start for your 9th grade year, take the honors options and classes that they're available for, but it's mostly a 10th grade activity.
Speaking of Career Connect class, there's a question on if internships count for credits. Yes, if you are a student taking Career Connect, your freshman, sophomore, junior, or even your senior year, if you are in an internship, if you work, let's say at Safeway or PCC, those job experiences, internship experience, all count for credit.
Will you be able to take a class, summer school math? Currently, that is not an option. We're still figuring out the summer school options, and summer school is not for acceleration. So if you want to take a class, like say you're in algebra and you want to see about taking geometry and algebra, so you can be in algebra 2 in the fall, you'll need to take geometry and algebra 2. Those need to be done at the school. So there's no way to move ahead in math over the summer. You need to do that during the school year.
All right, there's 1 more minute left, so we'll answer any last remaining questions. Just a reminder, we also have an additional Q&A tomorrow at 10:51 again, so talk to your families tonight and then come back again tomorrow if you have additional questions. But we'll be on here for another 5 minutes and wait for some other questions to pop up. Otherwise, thank you for attending. Appreciate you all. Can't wait to see you all this fall. All right, everyone, thank you for attending. We will end the meeting now. And as we mentioned, we will post the recordings on our website. Thank you. Take care.